Shiva Mahapurana. Introduction. He is Aryama, Varuna, Rudra, Agni, Surya, Mahayama, and is the one who roams about in the sky with his rays in the form of Indra. Atharva Veda 13.4.425. Prehistoric Age. India happens to be the sacred land of the gods, where, from the time immemorial, several deities had been adored, while some of them disappeared from the Indian religious horizon as rapidly as they had mushroomed. But some of them were relegated to oblivion with the passage of time becoming redundant. Still, there had been certain deities who, after once appearing over the Indian religious horizon, never lost their importance and continue here even to the present times, facing all the political, religions, and other adversities. Lord Shiva comes under the last category because his following never disappeared from the Indian scene after he attained the position of adoration and worship. Besides the ancient Indian literature, even the archaeological evidence is quite vocal on the subject because the presence Shiva has been found in the Harappan culture, commonly known as the Indus Valley Civilization, which is believed to be the pre-Vedic. The name of the pre-Vedic prototype of Shiva is not known to us, but Rudra continued to be the principal name of Shiva. The Harappan sites in the country, as well as those in Pakistan, have produced evidence of the presence of Shiva in human as well as the symbolic form. A seal from Harappa displays a horned deity seated cross-legged in the forest, stretching his arms up to the knees, which has been interpreted to represent Shiva in the form of Pashupati, surrounded by the wildlife. The inscription over the seal has not been satisfactorily deciphered, but the deity is supposed to be the prototype of Shiva. Even the pre-Harappan sites of Namajga, Kuli, and Jhob in Afghanistan and Balochistan have produced the terracotta images of Shiva and Yoni, besides a large number of bulls. This goes on to establish the antiquity of the worship of Shiva in the Indian subcontinent. Insofar as the historical sites are concerned, enough of evidence has been forthcoming in the form of terracotta artifacts concerning worship of Shiva in the sites of Ahitchatra, Kaushambi, Rajghat, and many others. Vedic and post Vedic age. While dealing with the presence of Shiva in the ancient Indian literature, one has to refer to the Rig Veda, wherein Rudra, the violent form of Shiva, had been more popular. Indeed, Rudra was the Vedic counterpart of Shiva, and the Vedic and Brahmanic characterization of Rudra enunciates as many as 100 names of the god, that is, Shatarudriya in Shukla Yajurveda. The glimpses of the presence of Rudra Shiva in the Rig Veda are given hereunder. Rig Veda 6.51.12. May Rudra, the Lord of cosmic vitality, the vital breath and divine speech, the all pervading winds, send us rains and make us happy. Ibid 8.3.7. O resplendent Rudra, men glorify you with hymns so that you may cherish their noble deeds. The spiritually awakened sages in one accord lift up their voice to praise you first, and men possessing vital energy also sing forth your praises. Ibid 8.7.12. O excellent, charitable Rudra, you make the enemies to cry, holding at the weapons. O illustrious Maruts, when you being present in the yajna, drink the soma juice, you get fully conscious of your functions. Yajurveda, Rudra has been eulogized with 100 names in the Shatarudriya Samhita of the Shukla Yajurveda of Vadshaneyi school. In the Taittiriya Samhita of the Krishna Yajurveda, he has been conceived as having 1,000-fold virility. Chapter 16 of the Yajurveda conceives Rudra in a variety of forms, which in quite surprising as would be evident from the following. Hymn 1. He makes others to weep and suppresses those doing injustice to others. He is the carrier of the arrows having 2 arms. Hymn 2 describes him as dwelling in the mountain cave. His peaceful form removes the sins at sight, and in his benevolent form he casts a compassionate look at his devotees. Hymn 3 conceives him having been dedicated to the protection of the people while destroying the enemies with his arrows. Hymn 4 conceives him as the dweller of mountains who can remove the ailments of the world. He has been described as the physician of the world in hymn 5 and the destroyer of the cruel creatures as well as the degraded persons. Hymn 7 of this chapter conceives Rudra with blue throat, who is visible to the ladies carrying water in the pitchers at dawn and at dusk. In the next hymn, he has been defined with 1,000 eyes. He has also been defined, hymn 10, as the one having the matted locks of hair over the head. He has also been defined as an immensely learned preceptor, hymn 5. Hymn 15. He is said to have arms adorned with gold ornaments, being the lord of the all the directions, leader of the army, having the green hair resembling the tender leaves, lord of animals, illustrious and having the complexion of the fresh sprouting shoots, lord of the pathways, wearing a yajnopavita sacred thread, free from old age, and the great God, being the Lord of all the gods. He makes the cereals to grow, protector of the universe, who carries the weapons to subjugate the sinful people, preserver of the forests as well as the regions. He is the one who cannot be killed. Hymns 17 to 18. He keeps a watchful eye over the cheats and burglars, controllers of the spies, subjugate the troubleshooters, and punishes those who steal the riches of others. Hymn 21. Wearing a turban, he leaps over the mountain, terrifies the wicked people with the use of bow and arrow. Hymn 22. He has matted locks of hair over the head, has the shaven head, and carries 100 bows, having the form of Vishnu. Hymn 29. He has the body like a child, a young man, as well as an old man, and possesses all the excellent qualities. Hymn 30. These, as well as several other qualities of Shiva, have been described in Yajurveda chapter 16. In the Rig Veda, Rudra is described as Kshadavira, generally interpreted by the scholars as the rulers over the heroes and the wise, at the same time emphasizing his terrific aspect as well, which has also been brought out in the Taittiriya Samhita of the Krishna Yajurveda, in which it is prayed that, O Rudra, do not out of anger injure our children and descendants, our people, our cattle, our horses, and do not kill our men. We invoke you with offerings. The next of the Atharva Veda is said to have sprung up from the forehead of Brahma and then transformed itself into half male and half female, that is Ardhanarishwara. The 11 Rudras, whose names differ, sprang up from the former's half. In an other text, Rudras are represented as children of Kashyapa and Surabhi, or of Brahma and Surabhi. In one of the hymns, Rudra has been described in the Atharva Veda as Agni at dawn. Besides Agni, Varuna, Mitra, Ashwins, Pushana, Brihaspati, and Soma. Thus, though the epithet of Rudra was more popular for Shiva in the Vedic literature, but most of his attributes like Mahadeva, Kapardi, or having 1,000 arms and 100 eyes had already gained currency during the Vedic period itself, the age of Brahmana literature. The adoration of Shiva in the form of Rudra continued during the period of the Brahmana literature. In the Shatapatha Brahmana 4.5.7.42, 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, 12 Adityas, including the heaven and the earth, were included in the 33 gods, while Prajapati happens to be the 34th. This text also equates Agni with Rudra 1.6.1.8. The Taittiriya Brahmana 3.11.4.1 to 2 describes Shiva as Pashupati, the lord of animals world. This aspect has been projected in the seals from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, as has already been discussed. The text also equates Agni with Rudra 1.10.5.8. Agni is also described as fire on earth and the Aditya as Rudra in the sky 1.1.8.1. Rudra is also the lord of Bhutas who takes care of beings. Rudra protects the devotees as a matter of course without any coercion on the part of his devotees. He is invincible, the active part of Agni who guards the health of the living beings. 2.6.4.1. Commenting on the presence of Shiva in the Aitareya Brahmana, A.B. Kait has observed no argument can be either way be drawn from the prominence of Shiva in the Samkhyayana, since Ofrecht has proved that even in Aitareya Shiva happens to be the great god in the form of Rudra, just as he is in the Shatapatha in the later book Vajasaneyi Samhita and portions of Atharva Veda. It must be recognized that the deity later known as Shiva came at an early period to be the most prominent of the Hindu pantheon, to represent that striving at pantheistic monotheism which is one of its forms and is characteristic of all development of Indian religious thought. It is probable that several conceptions have merged in the idea of the later Shiva. Originally the god of storm, which destroyers, was later amalgamated with the god of forest and wood, or rather perhaps with the vegetation spirit, which has been rendered so familiar by the studies following Manhard. Possibly two traits of his character are derived from the idea of evil powers of the spirits of the dead, as suggested by V. Sorujdu, who regards him as the chief of the spirits of the dead. Aitareya Brahmana by A.B. Kait, page 33 to 34, Oxford, 1969. The Samkhyayana, Kaushitaki, and other Brahmanas use the names as Shiva, Rudra, Shiva, Mahadeva, Maheshwara, and Ishana for describing the great god. Banerjee, J.N. Development of Hindu Iconography, page 447 to 448. Commenting over the development of the personality of Shiva in the Brahmana literature, Weber has suggested that long ago such epithets like Mahadeva, Ishana, etc. of Rudra, involving quite a special prominence of the deity as compared to the other gods, indicated a sectarian worship. Indexe Studian 2302. Taking into account the myths about the origin and growth of the concept of Rudra, Aufrecht also observed that the period of Brahmanas was the one when the old polytheism was in a condition of decline and the new faith was gaining ground. Kait A.B. Rigveda Brahmanas, page 26. Thus, up to the Brahmanas literature, Rudra had been conceived in his Somya, peaceful, as well as the Ghora, terrific forms. Of these, Rudra, Sharva, Ugra, and Ashani represented his destructive forms, while Bhava, Pashupati, Mahadeva, and Ishana were his beneficent forms. It is not possible to determine the exact date of the complete emergence of the cult centering around Rudra Shiva because the process of its evolution was undoubtedly gradual, and enough of literary data of the pre-Christian period seem to indicate the stages of its growth and development. The Upanishadic literature. Coming to the post-Vedic literature, the Upanishads, besides the Brahmanas, have their own importance while dealing with the various aspects of Shiva. Many of these Upanishads have been termed as the Shaiva Upanishads, and Shiva has been discussed in them in many forms. The salient features of some of these texts are highlighted as under. According to Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.2.4, Rudra happens to be the one who is well aware of Brahman and does not admit the existence of a second. He alone rules the entire universe with his prowess. He is said to be dwelling as the inner self of all the living beings. After creating all the worlds, he is their protector, takes them back into himself. At the end of the time, his eyes are everywhere, his faces are everywhere, his arms are everywhere, and so is the case of his feet. It is he who endows the men with arms, birds with talons and wings, and the men likewise with the feet. Having produced heaven and earth, he remains their non-dual manifester. He is the omniscient Rudra, the creator of gods and the bestower of power to them. Besides being the support of the universe, he is the one who gave initially gave birth to Hiranyagarbha and is invoked to bestow the clear intellect. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 3.11.2 describes the 11 Rudras besides the other gods. On being questioned by Sakalya, Yajnavalkya replied that there were 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, 12 Adityas besides the other gods, making a total of 33. The Kena Upanishad 3.1.2 etc. preserves a story in which the supremacy of Uma, the spouse of Shiva, is established. According to the story, once Brahman obtained the victory for the gods who felt elated and attributed the victory to themselves. Brahman understood it all and appeared before them, but the gods were unaware of his identity. They asked Agni to find out the reality about the same. He went to Brahman, who asked him, "Who are you?" He replied, "I am known as Agni and am also known as Jataveda." When asked about his powers, Agni said, "I burn all, whatever is there on earth." Brahman then put a straw before him and said, "Burn this." He rushed towards it with all his strength but failed to burn it. Then he returned from the spirit and told the gods, "I could not know the reality about the spirit." Then Vayu, when asked to find out the truth about the spirit, was unable to do so and returned disappointed. Then the gods prayed to Indra to go and himself find out the truth about the spirit. But the spirit disappeared from the place, and instead Uma, Haimavati, was found standing there, who informed Indra, "It is indeed Brahman, through whose victory you have gained the glory." Thereafter Indra could well understand Brahman. The Katha Upanishad conceives Rudra as the lord of tapas, elements and water. Katha Upanishad 4.8.6.77. Besides the above, the Prashna Upanishad 2.11.9.25, Chandogya Upanishad 3.7.1, Brihadaranyaka 1.4.11, Maitrayaniya Maitrayaniya 7.2, Jaiminiya 1.18.5, and other Upanishads describe Shiva in one or the other forms. The evidence of the epics. The Valmiki Ramayana. The epics of Valmiki Ramayana, as well as the Mahabharata, besides the Upanishads, have their own importance in the ancient Sanskrit literature, and Shiva is conspicuously found present in both these texts, glimpses of which have been provided hereunder. Chapter 36 of the Balakhanda of the Valmiki Ramayana describes Uma as the daughter of Himalaya and Mena. On being asked by Rama about the details of the episode relating to the birth of Kartikeya, Vishwamitra narrated the following story to Rama and Lakshmana. In ancient times, the holy Lord Mahadeva was wedded to Parvati, and charmed with her beauty, he devoted himself to the delights of the connubial bliss. According to the measure of times of the gods, Lord Mahadeva passed 100 years with Parvati, but remained without an issue. In this anxiety, the gods approached Brahma and said, "Who will be able to endure the power and glory of the offspring produced by the two mighty beings?" They then took refuge with Mahadeva, saying, "O God of gods, O Mahadeva, you are always engaged in doing good to all living beings. We offer our salutation to you. Be gracious to us. None can endure your power, O foremost among the gods, for the welfare of the three worlds. Retain your energy within your body so that the universe may be preserved and may not suffer destruction." At this, Mahadeva, the ruler of the world, listened to the prayer of the gods and said, "Be it so. O gods, I shall restrain my power so that all the regions, including the earth, could dwell in peace. But, O gods, should my vital fluid overflow, who shall receive it?" The gods replied, "The earth would do so." Then Mahadeva let fall his seed on earth, covering the mountains, sea, and the forests. When the earth could bear it no more, the gods asked the wind and fire deities to combine with the creative power, and thus was a white mountain created. Later, a heavenly forest, as resplendent as the light of the sun, was created. From this fiery light, the glorious Kartikeya was born. Besides the above, Rama is also said to have established a Shivalinga at Rameshwaram and adored it before the crossing of the Setubandha by his monkey army for entry into Lanka. Similar types of accounts of the adoration of Shiva by Rama and found in other Sanskrit as well as other Ramayana texts composed in the regional languages of the country, highlighting the building of the Shiva temple at the start of the bridge over the ocean. Whatever may be the case, it is quite certain that a definite form of linga had already gained currency and he had become a popular deity. The Mahabharata. In the epic of the Mahabharata, Shiva enjoys a prominent place. He is adored in the two exclusive poems in which he has eulogized as Shiva Mahadeva. Initially, in the Shiva Sahasranama Stotra recited by Daksha, Mahabharata 13.285, 10346 to 10439. Mahadeva Sahasranama Stotra, on the other hand, is said to have been recited by a Brahmana and then repeated by Tandin. Ibid 13 1144 to 1266. He is also connected with several episodes in this epic, some of which are detailed as under. He is described as Nilakantha, having consumed the Kalakuta, emerging from the churning of the ocean by the gods and the demons, popularly known as Amrita Manthan, Ibid 1.66 2565. Gandhari was bestowed with a boon by Shiva to have 100 sons. Ibid 1.123 4794. Draupadi prayed to Shiva in the former birth 5 times to have a husband, as a result of which she became the wife of the 5 Pandavas. Ibid 1.66 2565. Jarasandha worshipped Mahadeva and had imprisoned many kings in the temple of Pashupati for offering sacrifice to Shiva. Ibid 2 146 1643. Shiva granted 60,000 sons to Sagara from one of his wives and 1 son from the other wife. Ibid 3 106 8826. Mahadeva lived in Himalaya mountain and absorbed the Ganga over his head. Ibid 83825. Shiva was visualized by Narayana as the Master, the Lord of the universe, Lord of all the gods, the supreme deity, smaller than the smallest and larger than the largest. He has the matted locks of hair over the head and is the infuser of life in every form. He has crescent moon over the forehead and is clad in tiger's skin. He is surrounded by many ghosts and spirits. He is unborn and can never be sighted by the wicked people. He is destroyer of Andhaka and has 3 eyes and a blue throat. Ibid 8.201603. Krishna recited Shatarudriya in praise of Shiva and declared him to be the creator of all the living beings. He destroyed the sacrifice of Daksha as well as the Tripuras. Ibid 8.161-162. Arjuna had been the hero of the Mahabharata 6.219, who performed severe tapas for getting Pashupata weapon from Shiva for the slaying of his enemies, which was bestowed by Shiva after testing his strength. The episode of Arjuna receiving the Pashupata weapon from Shiva is popularly known as Kiratarjunyam. References to the pretense of Shiva in the earlier section of the Mahabharata over the columns are found. Thus, in the Kiratarjunyam episode, Arjuna has been described as adoring Shiva Bhava with a garland after making an earthen altar as the divine symbol 2.39.625. It would thus be evident that driving the terrific form of Shiva to the background, the personality of the Lord became more conspicuous as a benevolent deity who could remove the sufferings of the people and save them from misery. He was a powerful protector of his devotees, which aspects would be clear from the episode of the Mahabharata in which Ashwatthama, on his nocturnal journey to the Pandavas' camp during the night in order to murder all the brothers was confronted by a gigantic figure at the gate. He then invoked the aid of Shiva, his patron deity, and there appeared before him a huge golden altar with fire flames spreading on all the sides, obstructing his onward movement. This is the concept of sudden appearing of a flaming golden altar or a pillar before Ashwatthama in order to protect the Pandavas. This is a glaring example of the Lord's protecting his devotees. However, this is clear that by the time of the epics, the worship of Shiva had started in many forms, and even the various types of stotras had been composed in his honor. Not only could be protect his devotees, but also could grant them their desired wishes and the weapons.